Leon stood before the mirror in the bridal preparation room of a luxurious Arab hotel, adjusting the last strands of her hair beneath the long wedding veil. The white dress cascaded around her like a luminous cloud, while tension colored her breaths with a mix of joy and the natural fear that accompanies the night of a lifetime. Her mother, Nahed, moved around the room with a strange anxiety. Her face was pale, her eyes restless, never settling. There was something in her expression resembling panic, not the nervousness of a mother about to see her daughter married, but the fear of someone who has witnessed a disaster and cannot speak. She approached Leon and placed a small piece of paper in her hand, pressing it tightly as if handing over a weapon rather than a message. Leon unfolded the paper and found only a single sentence written in a shaky hand. "Pretend you fainted immediately." Leon looked up at her mother, searching for an explanation, but Nahed said nothing. Time slipped by. The music began, the doors of the hall opened, and the guests waiting for the bride turned their attention to the aisle covered with shining white carpet. Leon had no choice but to step forward. Every step weighed heavily on her heart, and as she drew closer to Adam, the groom she had dreamed would be hers, the air seemed to thicken around her like a wall. Reaching the middle of the aisle, she remembered the note. She remembered her mother's trembling hand. She did it. She twisted her foot intentionally and fell hard in front of everyone. Gasps, screams, the music stopped. Adam and his mother, Suad, rushed toward her, but their faces showed not concern, only exposure. Suad screamed in a frantic tone that they didn't need an ambulance and that they would take her to the center they knew. But Nahed pushed her aside like a mother protecting her child from a wolf, insisting that her daughter was coming with her. The ambulance arrived with unnerving speed, as if summoned in advance. Leon got in with her mother. Red lights danced across the glass, sirens cut through the streets, as if clearing a path for their escape. Leon tried to understand, but her mother revealed the truth that turned her wedding night into a nightmare. She had not ruined the wedding. She had saved her from the asylum. Leon was stunned. Her mother continued, voice trembling, explaining that Adam and his mother had planned to have her committed to their psychiatric hospital, where she would have been trapped for life. She had overheard them by chance the previous day. They had been talking in a room near the hallway. Everything had been planned. Blood drained from Leon's face. She struggled to breathe as the world seemed to collapse around her. Her mother called her father's old lawyer, Mr. Sammer, the man her father had always trusted. His voice was tense when he answered, and upon hearing the situation, he admitted he had feared this day. When they arrived at the hospital, Sammer entered with a grim expression and told Leon that Adam wasn't the first. 3 years ago, there had been a girl named Miriam who had disappeared a week after her wedding, and her possessions had been transferred to Adam. Leon shivered. Her voice, barely a whisper, asked if that meant Miriam might be dead. Sammer shook his head. They didn't know, but what was certain was that she had vanished in a way similar to what they had planned for Leon. Before he could continue, a nurse informed them that Adam and Suad were insisting on entering. Sammer blocked the door, confronting Adam as he tried to force his way in. Sharp words were exchanged, and Sammer warned loudly enough for the guards to hear that if Adam raised his voice, it would be considered a confession. Adam stared at Leon through the glass, a look no one would forget, the gaze of a man who had lost his game and would not forgive. Before leaving, he said coldly that they were not done. After their departure, Sammer took action, securing the room, filing a threat report, opening Miriam's case, and requesting an investigation into the hospital. Night fell and a strange call came. A woman's exhausted voice, crying and gasping, said, "Can you hear me? I'm Miriam." Everyone froze. She spoke in a broken voice, saying that she was trapped in the asylum, that Adam and his mother had put her there and taken everything. But she didn't finish. The sound of footsteps, a door slamming open, screams, desperate pleas of "No, no, stop," echoed, and then the call ended. The next morning, Samar and the police raided the asylum. They discovered an unregistered secret section with locked rooms, unnamed medications, and a warm bed indicating someone had been there hours ago. But Miriam was gone. Only a torn note remained, in her handwriting, saying, "Not by my choice, forgive me." Samar returned with a dark gaze explaining that Adam had moved her somewhere new, quickly. The war was far from over. Hours later, a major development occurred. Adam and Suad were arrested after authorities found forged files, a recording of Miriam, witnesses from the asylum, and suspicious financial transfers. In court, Adam stood silently until the judge asked if he had anything to say before sentencing. He smiled coldly, claiming that if Miriam hadn't been caught, no one would have ever known. The courtroom trembled at his words. They were sentenced to long years in prison. Weeks later, Leon left the hospital. She visited her father's grave, placed a white rose, and whispered that she had protected what he left her. Samar approached, telling her that the police confirmed Miriam was alive just days ago. They hadn't found her, but this meant she might be safe. Leon smiled, gazing at the horizon beginning to glow. She said that if Miriam was alive, they would find her, that her story didn't end like this. And she walked on, the scent of freedom filling her chest, knowing well that she hadn't just survived, she had been reborn.